To the day 75 years ago, on the 26th of June 1945, 51 nations from all over the world signed the following words. Preamble.
We,
the peoples of the United Nations, determined
to save succeeding generations from the scourge of war, which twice in our lifetime has brought untold sorrow to mankind, and
to reaffirm faith in fundamental human rights, in the dignity and worth of the human person, equal of rights of men and women and of nations large and small, and
to establish conditions under which justice and respect for the obligations arising from treaties and other sources of international law can be maintained, and
to promote social progress and better standards of life in larger freedom.
And for these ends,
to practice tolerance and live together in peace with one another as good neighbors, and
to unite our strength to maintain international peace and security, and
to ensure by the acceptance of principles and the institution of methods that armed forces shall not be used, save in the common interest, and
to employ international machinery for the promotion of the economic and social advancement of all peoples.
Have resolved to combine our efforts to accomplish these aims.
Accordingly, our respective governments, through representatives assembled in the city of San Francisco, who have exhibited their full powers, found to be in good and due form, have agreed to the present Charter of the United Nations and do hereby establish an international organization to be known
as the United Nations.
As you all know, 3 years later, this charter was followed by the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And another 20 years later, humankind set foot on the moon. That was only possible with a long journey of creativity, and this is ongoing. The following words are excerpts from Ron Garan's upcoming book, Floating in Darkness. At present, humanity and all life on Earth faces a crisis that threatens the survival of life on the planet. A crisis that humans are being challenged to overcome. A crisis that requires a giant leap in humanity's evolutionary process. A life or death crisis that we won't solve until humanity transcends individual and collective ego and embraces the true nature of its interdependence with every living thing on the planet and the planet itself. Humanity faces a choice: evolve or perish. As the International Space Station shrinks to a point of light and again starts to resemble a bright star, my gaze shifts back to Earth, where we'll be in a few days, and I'm filled with the certainty that humanity is a superorganism, whether we realize it or not. The problem is that our superorganism is unconscious. It is driven by animal impulses and not rational thought that takes actions in support of the well-being of the overall superorganism. Our current trajectory is leading us to a disaster, but we can take another path, one that leads to a positive and restorative future. To execute our required course correction, the human superorganism must awaken and act collectively for the betterment of the entire social body. Antibodies must be deployed to fight off our cancerous, self-centered, two-dimensional, winner-take-all mindset. Imagine what the world could look like in the next 50 years if the superorganism known as humanity were awakened and jettisoned all those things that are no longer needed. What would happen if our true starting condition was realized and we were able to make a course correction to steer our trajectory toward an unlimited future?
Leo for Ron. Leo for Ron. Leo for Ron. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, Leo. How about me?
Ron, I can hear you now. I can see you. Good to have you with us. Ron, warm welcome.
It's great to be on this journey with you. Thank you, Leo.
So we just heard this beautiful text from you. You, as a former NASA astronaut, you have been up there in space. You had this unique perspective on our planet, something that you call the orbital perspective. We just heard about the superorganism, so we heard this text from you. What do you mean with superorganism of humanity?
I think what's really clear, it's certainly clear from space, and it should be clear down here on the ground, is that we are part of a superorganism. And what I mean by that is we are part of an interdependent living system. And not only us as humanity, but every living thing on the planet and the planet itself. And if we think of it in the terms of a body, you know, the planet is the foundation of that body. It's the skeleton. It's what keeps the structure. It's, you know, between the animals and the plants on our planet, it forms the lungs. It's the circulatory system. It's the body of the organism. The individual cells of the organism are all the living things. And the brain of this superorganism is the embedded superorganism known as humanity. And as you heard in the excerpt, the problem is that this superorganism is unconscious and it's not acting in the best interest of the overall superorganism, and even us as a species are not acting in the best interest of even our own species. And we need to start bringing the true reality of the world into our decision making, into our policy making, and we need to build a system that works within the context of the interdependent nature of the world that we live in.
And we also heard about the unlimited future. So what keeps you positive when you look into the future, and how do we build this actually?
That's a great question. So the way that we build this future is first and foremost by recognizing the true nature of reality and getting rid of the false sense that we can do things over here and it doesn't affect everything else. Get rid of the false mindset that as long as the people in power are doing well, then we're going to keep going with the status quo. Until the status quo works for everyone, we will not be able to progress and prosper. All we will ever do is slap Band-Aids, temporary Band-Aids on the problems and challenges that we face. But if we are able to deal with the core, the underlying root cause of our challenges and problems, then we will be able to build a world that will work for all. And once we have a world that works for all, we will enter into the path for an unlimited future. A future where everybody has what they need to, and everybody can choose for themselves how they best contribute to society, and everybody works together towards the common goals. It sounds utopic, but it's within our reach. It is definitely within our reach, and I believe that right now we are in the midst of the great transition. We are in an inflection point between two human epochs. The old human epoch of the old way of doing things, and we're at that inflection point where we have a choice to transcend our humble beginnings and ascend to incomprehensible heights, both literally and figuratively.
And I mean, especially now, the status quo it's not only a reflection point, it's under attack because of that very unique situation that we're in. And I think Professor Yunus this morning also said this should be an opportunity also not to go back to the old normal, but really look into the future and rebuild something in a different way. How do you see this then? Do you see the current crisis as an opportunity?
I see it as an opportunity. I see it as a wake-up call. I see it as a call to action. We, for the first time in history, the entire species, all of humanity is faced with an undeniable existential threat. Now, you can argue that we've had existential threats in the past, but this one is undeniable. Literally, every single person on the planet is affected in one way or another by COVID-19. And so the saying "we're all in this together" is obviously not a cliche. It is the reality of the world that we're in. It's a fact. And until we deal with our problems and our challenges with the mindset that we're all in this together, the way I like to put it is that we're all riding through the universe together on this spaceship that we call Earth. Until we have that as our fundamental mindset, like I said, we're not going to do much more than slap Band-Aids on our solutions. I'm sorry, just Band-Aids on our problems.
Thank you very much, Ron. Maybe final question for you. You're over in the US, and maybe that's not the serious question. If you hop on a spaceship right now, how long would it take you to come to Munich? Because we would like to see you here.
Well, we travel at, I think, 7 kilometers per second, so do the math. It wouldn't be long. I'd be there before you guys knew it.
Latest by tomorrow you would be here. So Ron, big thanks to you over to the US. We hope to see you again
My pleasure.
in real life
Yeah,
at the next opportunity.
I wish I was there in person. So.
But great that you're with us digitally. Thank you, Ron. So, warm welcome everybody back to our evening session of the Summer of Purpose. I'm Leonard Niemer. I will be the moderator for the session tonight, the UN for You. And Peter Schwarzenbauer, when I was looking at you, that you are here today, 2 or 3 years ago, you had that quote when you said, the more the world gets virtual, the more we see the need to meet real people in real life. So, hello real people, good to see you again. I'm very happy to see real people in real life, also see you in real life. But of course, I'm also happy to see everybody who is digital with us. So a lot of people will follow us. I think this is a unique experiment in these, let's say, unique times as well. How can we combine offline experience with online experience? And this is part of the session tonight. So tonight we're going to speak about the UN. What can the UN actually do for you? And we will take you on a journey into the past. We heard about the 75 years of the United Nations that we're going to celebrate. Last week I spoke to Jeffrey Sachs. Some of you know him, one of the most famous economists. And he said for a 75-year-old organization, they have quite a lot of work to do right now. I mean, with this global pandemic, it's a very unique situation, but also a situation where the powerful countries do not necessarily play by international rules anymore. So this is kind of the double stress. And I think we will tonight discuss about the role of the UN for you, the role it had in the past, also the role in the future. So I hope you're all ready for this great session tonight. Yes, that works. Thank you very much.